I cannot believe it. Pokemon GO in its 9th year. Yes, today is the 9th anniversary, and you would kind of have to wonder, if we're going to analyze one of the anniversaries, why would it be the 9th and not the 10th? Well, the only thing that I think could kind of make this a little bit more special is just that this is also the time where Pokemon GO is being, acquired by Scopely, acquisitioned. But yeah, so Niantic, of course, could have a little bit of influence on this. I know that a lot of the staff with Niantic is moving in with Scopely for the Pokemon GO team specifically, because Niantic runs a lot of other things too. But yeah, they put out this image right here, and so it's kind of nuts just because when I think about it, I guess it kind of brings up a lot of thoughts, but there's several things that we can look at, but also they may not like all come to fruition, right? Because sometimes Niantic, for instance, they released one of these like illustrations, but it actually had Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y, and those still have not shown up in our game. So again, you kind of want to take this with a little bit of a grain of salt maybe, right? But anyway, yeah, Pokemon GO. It's funny because this game comes with like a huge impact on a lot of people's lives, right? So when you think about it, like a mobile game to last this long and to be in its 9th year is insane, because it was 2016 around this time that it came out, or I guess we should say on this day. And so my main memory of like when this game first came out, a lot of you guys will have a different memory, but those who were playing from the literal day one have this very vivid memory, whereas mine is a little bit different than those, right? Of the running across the street for a Lapras or Snorlax or whatever the big thing was. But I was at a wedding in Corpus Christi, Texas, and it was crazy because there were a lot of people playing it, but that's a little bit smaller of a town. It's like a kind of big, kind of small town, but it's by the beach and everything. And so around the wedding, there were some, I guess, younger people playing it. And I remember hearing this woman behind me. It was like two, let's say, middle-aged women that were talking about it as they saw all these kids with their phones just completely glued to looking at the phone. And they were saying,
"Oh yeah, those are those Pokemans."
And then the other woman was like,
"Oh yeah, I mean, they're playing it a lot, but it's good. It's getting these kids out of their house."
So that was like the big thing, right? Is that it was branded and billed as this, like, it's gonna get everyone out of their house, so it's a good video game. And I think that largely was true and everything like that. So what's funny is that my first experience with Pokemon GO was in 2016, yes, but it was in September, so not July when it normally, like, the anniversary comes around. And so I didn't even have a smartphone, you guys. I was using the poopiest, like, dinosaur flip phone for so long. And before that, I was using a dinosaur phone, dude. It was like in college, and people used to make fun of me constantly. Oh my god, I had to hide it in a part of my backpack where no one would know. Like, if I ever was using my phone, like, in public, I'd have to be like, "Oh yeah, can you give me your number?" and like hide it from people. My god, was it embarrassing. But anyway, my dad randomly comes over in September. He knew that our phones, we were actually paying for like a data plan. He didn't realize this. My mom had died, and I think she kind of handled all that. But anyway, my dad realized that, like, hey, we're paying for this data plan, and we're like starting to get phased out of these dinosaur flip phones. So he came to my apartment randomly with an iPhone SE. I was kind of upset because I was like, I don't know which phone I want, but no, it was fine. I got the iPhone SE Gen 1 and immediately downloaded Pokemon GO. It was an app that I thought I didn't have much connection to. I thought I was just going to kind of pass it by, right? I was like, man, this is a big deal, but like, I'm just completely out of it, right? And so when that wedding came by in July and stuff, and then when I got my phone and whatnot, I was on a different YouTube channel that still exists. It's DrKendo Commentaries, and it was like famous at the time, I was like over 100K subscribers. It was probably getting close to like 160K around that point, still growing beyond that too. And I was very laser focused on that. But I decided, man, once I got Pokemon GO and started playing it back then, it was nuts because I was immediately hooked. Like, this was my Pokemon game. I play all the main series games. I play a lot of the spin-offs, but I haven't played every single one of them. I do want to one day. But the point of all this to say is that from very early on, I did want to make content about it. And you guys, this is so embarrassing. Like, I was making these videos and they were horrible, but it was on the DrKendo Commentaries channel. You gotta see this. Like, look at this quality here. Like, I'm on a link of an actual video Pokemon GO in the grocery store, and it looks just miserable. First off, there's just the black bordering on either side, right? Like, that's the video right now playing just without the audio and stuff. And so, like, this horrible video. See, I was just wanting so badly to make this, but at the time, I was famous for other things. I was doing a Scribblenauts Unlimited series and stuff like that. And so Pokemon Go in the grocery store, like who the hell cared on my channel? I mean, it still got viewed like 1,200 times or something, but you guys, I just wanted to show y'all that was kind of like a memory of old. And so I didn't touch Pokemon Go in the content space after making like 4 videos or so, maybe 3 videos or so for that DrKendo commentaries channel. It was not until much later that I would come to find all of you who are watching this, and potentially, of course, new people coming to see this on this channel. But this channel did become Pokemon Go in 2019. But let's kind of quickly to take a step back, and we'll see this. This really is like a time capsule too. You know, we like to think, yeah, it's the anniversary. They always do this sort of illustration now. This is the tradition, is to see one of these kind of illustrations that tease things. We're about to break it down. Don't worry, I've been rambling a lot, I know. But just wanted to end off by saying that time capsule portion of it is like, they talk about from the Niantic perspective, or the Scopely now perspective, the team for Pokemon Go. They talk about their favorite events of the last year. For me, it's a little bit more thinking about like, what were we doing up until this point? You know, it's like all the Pokemon Go things, I guess, that happened each year. Can you guys imagine that? They did have like a gym reworking. You know, in 2017, I had a kid, but I was like playing it when I saw my first Kiss concert. I had never seen Kiss live, even though I really liked the band Kiss. Yeah, I know, cringe for most of you guys probably, but I really do like them legitimately. But yeah, I was like going to Oklahoma to see them and playing Pokemon Go. It just always was with me. It was always with me. And so the reason I mentioned having a kid is it's like, even when I was there, you know, I gave my wife full attention, obviously, like while my son was being born, but I did open the game one time. Even then, it was just one time to catch one thing and take a picture and say like, this one is to commemorate my son, you know? So like, Pokemon Go was that far involved in my life. And so you guys know 2017 comes along, 2018 and 19, and they're just kind of whatever years, they're okay. You know, we had shinies get introduced and stuff like that, community days. But what really, I think, hit for us was the Pokemon Go like pandemic times, you know, with the COVID protocols and all of that. And so that is when most of you guys found my channel, if you are returning. And so with that, let's break this down, and then we'll kind of end off with another, let's say, heartfelt memory and whatnot to pick it back up from the pandemic times, right? And so we'll get back on that track. Please, just rest assured, we will. But yeah, I kind of like to go just from like left to right here, and we'll do as best as we can to be quick as possible and not ramble too much. But obviously on the left side, you know, you're seeing Mega Metagross, and so that's a big one. There we go. And so, you know, Mega Metagross, kind of the obvious elephant in the room, steel elephant here in the room. And so that's really neat because Mega Pokemon have been sort of making their way downtown here into Pokemon Go, but Mega Metagross was one that we had not had yet, but had been teased. So finally going to be coming in. Also, the Pokemon Aegislash, I guess it's Aegislash, and that's right here. Of course, they have been teasing that a little bit. So these two, fortunately, we kind of have had word that they were coming, and so that's okay. You know, I'm fine with that. They're gonna finally confirm that. And once again, take this with a grain of salt, just because, like I said, they teased Mega Mewtwo X and Y back in like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and they still haven't come in. But yeah, so then you see, this is probably the most, like, one of the most interesting things to me is this trainer back here. So this trainer seems to be looking at the wristband, essentially their wrist. We're going to explain what we think it is in a second, but I'm just going to kind of talk about it in literal terms. Is that trainer right there, obviously looking at the wristband and seeing this sort of thumbs up icon coming from that. Now, there's sort of two theories that I would have. One is Z-Ring, Z-Moves, you know, the Z-Ring wristband, so we'll get to that in a second. But the other thing could just be, this is a stretch, okay? But, like, I've just been kind of thinking about like tech companies and whatnot, and it seems like it's not a brand new thing, but wearable technology, right? You know, so like wearable tech that does something. You have to wonder if there's going to be more wearable tech that would be integrated into Pokemon Go. So I'm not talking about like Apple Watch. I'm talking about a like proprietary piece of wearable tech, and it would be one of these like wristbands. I hesitate on that just because, yes, there is something called Z-Ring like bracelets, the Z-Ring wristband, you guys. And so, yeah, you would have to think also, I guess we can tease it, all right, is that they did tease if you follow the Poke Miners and stuff like that, they did tease that there was going to be like a new item of the wristband too. And so that's very clearly what we can imagine that it is. And I know that there's someone in my chat right now, that's Lisa, was saying, isn't that the new item? And so yeah, we are much more kind of all inclined to likely believe it's that. I just wanted to like maybe open up some, possibilities to what it could be or what could happen in the future with Pokemon Go. So that really may not be what comes right now. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, yes, it's just as Lisa was saying, it's just as I was just mentioning right here, Poke Miners and all of them saying that, well, this very well seems to be the new item, to throw into the game. And so the Z-Ring, essentially right here, we're looking on Bulbapedia. Forgive me for all these ads, dude. It's like Bulbapedia, come on, man. You guys. But yeah, it was in the Sun and Moon games, so your Gen 7 did come out with this, and they never really came back to this in any big way. And so Pokemon Go, they still have a few more Sun and Moon things to do. Not too many left, but this is one, is to potentially have Z moves in the game. So for those who are uninitiated, we'll just say like one or two sentences, is just essentially when a trainer in those games would wear that Z-Ring bracelet thing, a Z-Ring had like a sparkling crystal attached with it that would sort of imbue, I guess, the trainer with like special trust and willpower for their Pokemon, and it was like very specific Pokemon or types had Z moves, right? So it might be like a Alolan Raichu was one, that had one. Pikachu, Snorlax had like a specific Z move, and so these were just funny, well, not even really funny, I guess I should say. The dances were sometimes funny. But yeah, they were moves that came with like a dance, that kind of accompanied them. So maybe we'll do that in Pokemon Go. Maybe we won't. But yeah, we do have someone else in the chat that was saying, like the Z moves are fun. I still play Pokemon Sun. And yeah, I think I moved. No, okay, I didn't move the webcam, but we're still here. That was EF Goodrum. But yeah, thank you so much. And yes, Pokemon Sun and Moon, they're like probably in my top 3 favorite Pokemon mainstay RPG games, mainline RPG. But yeah, so this is very likely a Z move thing, and so we talked way too long about that, I'm sure, so forgive me, you guys. But yeah, I think the kind of next very obvious thing is that you not only saw it on that trainer that we pointed out right here with this arrow, but when you see it, right here, and then you're going to also see it on this trainer over there, let me get that arrow again. So right there, it kind of becomes a little bit more obvious, right, if all these trainers are going to be having it. Anyway, very cool. Hopefully that is going to be a fun feature. And one thing that a lot of people pointing out on Twitter, at least, is that no Mimikyu. So we've got all this Gen 7. They've put in so much, like I said, but where is Mimikyu? So let me know if you guys are also looking for Mimikyu as well. Who knows when that's a-coming? But yeah, I think a very, very clearly obvious next thing to see is in the center background, after we, of course, note they're kind of sticking with these starters over here. We got Fuecoco, we got Sprigatito, and we got Quaxly, and then we got a little bit of Yamper and the Wolves action with Zacian and Zamazenta. So this seems like a little bit of old and a little bit of new, and by old I just mean mere days, right now as we record this. But yeah, here's the sort of obvious new thing. Is going to be G-Max Butterfree. You guys, I love Butterfree. Absolutely amazing. So definitely a fan of that one for me here. Hopefully you guys as well. Not too much to look into though regarding the starters. We've already had the community day for so many, and they announced for Quaxly as well. So it's like, we're pretty solid, aren't we? And we got Yamper up in there. So, hey, it's just a nice little picture, I guess, for them to be included. Nothing really to dig into there. You noticed also there was like Pikachu balloons. I kind of hesitate to think that that is worth anything, except for Pokemon Masters EX also kind of does this like Pikachu head shape, and they might make it like a currency in that game, but I just feel it's very like obvious of Niantic, now Scopely at this point, the Pokemon Go teams, to sort of implement that to mean like, yes, it's Pokemon Day, it's Pokemon Year, it's it's a very anniversary type thing for them to do. And I did think at first, when I very much first glanced at this, tell me if you guys thought this too, is that, hey, maybe they have some Team Mystic favoritism, because I was like, there's only a Team Mystic gym. But no, you just have to look a little bit harder, is that they do actually, they had an Instinct gym right back here, and then they had the Team Valor gym poking out here at the top right. So they did actually give each of the teams a little bit of love there. But anyway, you guys, next major thing and obvious is going to be the Paradox Pokemon. So if you played Scarlet and Violet, you know about it, of course. Those Paradox Pokemon are named Great Tusk, of course. If if you want to look at that boy right there. And we got Iron Treads for the future. So they were past and future Pokemon, essentially for Scarlet and Violet. I was not crazy about Scarlet and Violet myself. I just had like such a high hope for a region that was based on, I think, a place that I find to be really cool. So Spain, Portugal, like, why would they not do those regions justice? They came out with a game like Scarlet and Violet, but hey, maybe Switch 2 being out now gives them a little bit more gumption, a little bit more life. Am I right? Hopefully that is all implemented okay. You know, Pokemon Go can often implement things in a different way than like the mainstay games do it, but hey, we'll see. Point being that you'll be able to see some of the past and future Pokemon, and I do think more will come. So, you know, I obviously don't just leave it at these two and that's it. You know, clearly they'll come out with all of them at some point, I'm sure. Then you got this character. I believe that's just another trainer, right, you guys? It's like sometimes when I think about the main series games, I'm like, wait, is there a character that I missed because they have like 100 billion human characters and stuff that I have to keep track of, and I just can't. And we're gonna get to something here in a second with this Zygarde. Actually, we'll get to it now because it does relate to my thought, is that when you think about it, the background of this whole image does seem very much to fit the aesthetic of what we're going to show you coming up right here. So check this out, you guys. Of course, coming up in October is going to be Pokemon Legends ZA for the Switch and Switch 2, the Switch family of consoles. And so that aesthetic is very Lumio City that we were just looking at. That's one of the main sort of towns in the game, right? Pokemon X and Y. So people that loved Gen 6, you may like that is part of the teaser, but obviously to me, it does seem to be the tie-in that could lead us there, you know, and then to have Zygarde, right? Pokemon Legends ZA, you would have to think that the Z, it kind of comes from, I think, 2 or more different places, but I know that Zygarde is kind of that, one of those, because you got Xerneas with X, right? You got Yveltal with Y, and then you got Zygarde with Z, but there's also a character named AZ, you guys, so Pokemon Legends ZA, like, okay, anyway, we won't get too bogged down in that, but you guys, that mostly is gonna break down everything. Obviously, I want to leave a little bit of time for you guys to state whatever you think might be here that I'm kind of just missing. I did want to tell you guys that, funny enough, this image is just called unnamed.jpg. Every single image that they post on the PokemonGo.com, it used to be called PokemonGoLive.com, that live blog, that was actually, they're all just called unnamed. So yeah, this image, unnamed, for Pokemon Go's 9th anniversary. And so like I said, coming up on 9 years, is really something to, I think, be marveled. It's to be heralded that a mobile game, now it certainly is part of the Pokemon IP that can like bring it this far. I don't doubt that, but like, isn't that really quite amazing, to be honest, that like a mobile game has made it this far? And I think it's deserving. I think overall, for all the crap that we are able to, and with good reason, with valid reason, give critique of the game, it is really fun. It is really good. It is something to make its mark in history, you know, for the right reasons and sometimes the wrong reasons. So one of the wrong reasons was, well, hey, we went into the right reasons where we are all stuck in this pandemic when 2020 hits on, you know, COVID-19. They make a lot of measures that are bringing in a lot of new people. And so that's where my channel right here that we're talking to you from, not just the DrKendo commentaries, that one was sort of tapering off and I was losing a lot of viewership after doing a series for a little bit over a decade, right? Like the same series. I'm really grateful to have that, okay? So please don't worry about that. Don't be like, I'm so sorry. Like, no, okay, like I've pivoted a few times over there. It's fine. We made this channel, so DrKendo on YouTube, and put that into Pokemon Go, like I said, at the sort of the end of 2019 to cover Team Go Rocket. And then when COVID happened, this channel that you're watching right now was the first, and this can be proven because YouTube has like a date and time stamp or whatever of my live stream, but my very first live stream of inviting people to remote raids, that became like such a popular live streaming format for Pokemon Go and probably still happens today. I don't really do it anymore, but like I was the first channel to do that. It was the exact millisecond that they made that a feature that I was ready. I went out and I went to a park that was nearby. There was Kyurem. Kyurem was the first legendary raid that they had for it, and I was sitting there inviting people to remote raids, and that started the trend. You know, I'm not saying that I am egomaniac enough to say like, oh, every other person copied me. I don't mean that. I just mean I was the first person on record on YouTube, on Twitch, to do this. And so there were already a lot of people that participated in that because a lot of people were looking for that connection, right? And Pokemon Go was a way for us to all be participating in something during like a really crazy time, during a tragedy that we were all going through, right, in the world. No matter what your beliefs were, we were all going through it at the same time. And Pokemon Go was a way that I felt so in touch with you guys. So that was a really meaningful time for Pokemon Go to step in for me and for the world. And so there was a time when Darkrai and Giratina were coming into remote raids. I was streaming to like 800 viewers, 900 viewers. Lisa, I think, was one of my mods at the time, or was at least in the audience, and she's here on the live portion of this right now. That was insane. People were so nice to me and my mods, and then so vicious to me and my mods. It was a scary / like amazing time. It was just this beautiful community that we had set up. I had a Discord server with like 8,000 people eventually, just like helping you guys get raids. We were just trying to get as many people raids as quick as possible. But when you have 800 people, can you imagine? We could only invite 5 at a time per account. I ran 2 accounts, and it was all from that iPhone SE, that Generation 1 iPhone SE, and an iPad in my car, whether it was freezing, whether it was hot. Pokemon Go with COVID lockdown, you could still explore, you know. That's what sucks about the later years. As we moved on, they started rolling back a lot of those sort of COVID protocols, or at least just changing them, right? And so you guys know the history, very likely, is that they rolled down where the remote raids had limits now, and then they cost more coins, so it cost more money, and it was just something that it took a huge online player base out of the picture. Unfortunately, they became a lot less active, at least from my standpoint, and I could see a lot of it on social media too. So it wasn't just like my own channel only, it was a lot of people expressing that, right? And so I think to kind of make that transition to where we are now, I've talked about it too many times, so I won't go over all my thoughts again, but like, I don't think the markup had to be so huge, and the limit didn't really need to be there, or just make the limit huge. So I am glad. I can see some things that could be bad that people theorized with now Scopely taking over the leadership and having the Niantic Pokemon Go team under their wing. I could see why some people were like, no, this is sus, Scopely kind of sucks. But from another standpoint, I think they've already been working on sort of rolling back or making better certain things like remote raids. So one of those would be being shadow remote raids are now being able to be remote raidable, as well as Gigantamax, Dynamax, you know, that. So the max battles. So I do think that there are some possibilities still open, you know, because they're taking away certain limits, making those better. So, you know, I do look forward to seeing where this game goes. I think if we look at now, 9 years of hunting, catching, raiding, walking, all of this stuff with Pokemon Go, you gotta think, well, we have a lot of shinies on Community Day, but when you're looking for those full odds shinies, maybe God, Arceus, blesses us with 4, 5 in a few months, a year, whatever your rate may be. Everybody's in a different place, right? Like some people are getting shinies all the time because they're in a big city. Some people are like rural, you know, and then there's urban, and there's like all sorts of gradients in between. So I never like to blanket statement anything. But when you think about all those shinies, maybe the real shinies were the friends that we made along the way. That was kind of an awesome, cheesy statement. I'm not going to end on that, though. Wouldn't that have been dope, though? But yes, please, if you guys are watching this as a recording, please click an end screen on screen. Catch another video about Pokemon Go. There's a lot of personal stories on this channel and how to beat Team Go Rocket. And of course, I got to say, thank you so much for viewing. That was the real ending this time.